should be some limits on free speech. It shouldn't be anybody can say anything.
I think limiting free speech would just make people feel very upset, really.
I believe that every human has the right to express what they think is right and wrong. However, I do believe that free speech should come with limitations, especially when the speech is deemed offensive.
I think it is very important for people to be able to express their positions, opinions, stances, but I also believe that at times, creating that liberty can allow for people to actively call for harming others.
The key to finding the best solutions is to recognizing the problem. And for that to happen, we need to see the thorough thought process that goes through each other's minds. We need to see the roughest of those opinions and those thoughts in order for us to move towards better solutions.
Even if the story is technically right, I think it uses language to steer the story in the direction that it benefits from most.
I would like to believe that some people are trying to show the real truth, but it's not always possible for one perspective to be fully correct.
No, I don't believe that Western media gets the story right most of the time. I think Western media's coverage of various global issues has demonstrated that it has failed to account for local voices.
Most of the time, I would say Western media does get the story right, but then again, when it's referring to events happening outside of their country, I would say sometimes they don't always get it right.
Washington, D.C. Just.
This is a little harsh, but hypocrisy.
Double standards.
Controlled.
Collapsing trust.
Dominant.
Centralized power.
I think puppeteers, because they're behind the scenes and they control everything on the show.
Being a data scientist, I just know for a fact that bias is human. It is almost impossible to be completely non-biased, but I try my best to mix mine with the other people to get the most inclusive thought. So I try to listen as much as I can before I say my own opinion.
Being able to take a step back and just listening to the other person with the pure intention to just understand where they are coming from or what they're trying to say.
Battling your bias would start with exposing yourself to as many news channels as you can.
I always argue that there's no such thing as real, true objectivity when it comes to people's positions and opinions. And I would argue that on your social media feeds, for example, rather than just following one type of accounts or one type of ideology, you should rather follow as many people as possible.
I think for me, my biggest advice would just to be able to accept humility. You know, when someone is incredibly stubborn or when someone is having this attack mode in which they believe that they're completely right and that, you know, they're attacking you and they're kind of calling you names and they just feel like they're superior to whatever opinion you have, that leads to just no solution whatsoever. So just being able to accept humility, being able to accept the fact that you could be completely wrong in a situation is the best way to come into a conversation or dialogue with someone.
Curiosity beats judgment. So every time I'm talking to someone, every time I'm debating someone or meeting new people, it's really important for me to remind myself that I should be curious about what they have to say, how they have to act, and just try to understand where they're coming from and not judging them.